In the cold month of December 1773, a simple cargo of tea became the center of one of the most dramatic protests in history. This protest was not just about tea. It was about freedom, rights, and the very future of a nation that did not yet exist. The story of the Boston Tea Party is the story of ordinary colonists who decided they had enough of unfair treatment. At that time, the American colonies were ruled by Great Britain. The British Empire was powerful, and its king and parliament expected the colonies to follow its laws without question. After the expensive 7 Years' War, Britain was deeply in debt. To recover money, the British government placed new taxes on its American colonies. The colonists, however, had no representatives in the British Parliament. They had no voice in the decisions being made about them. This gave birth to a powerful slogan, "No taxation without representation." Among the taxes, one stood out: the tax on tea. Tea was not just a drink in the colonies, it was part of daily life, something people consumed every day. When Britain gave the East India Company a monopoly to sell tea in the colonies and taxed it, colonists saw it as yet another sign of injustice. For them, it was not about the cost of tea, it was about principle. If Britain could force them to pay taxes without consent, what would come next? As tensions rose, ships loaded with British tea arrived in Boston Harbor. The ships carried hundreds of crates filled with tea, but the colonists refused to unload them. Meetings were held in Boston, where angry citizens gathered. They were determined that the tea would not be sold on their land. For weeks, discussions and protests continued. The governor of Massachusetts insisted that the tea must be unloaded and the tax must be paid. The colonists were equally determined that it would not happen. Finally, on the evening of December 16, 1773, the situation reached its breaking point. A group of colonists, many of them members of a secret group called the Sons of Liberty, decided to act. To hide their identities, some disguised themselves as Mohawk Native Americans. It was a symbolic gesture showing that they were separating themselves from British authority. That night, they marched through the streets of Boston and headed straight to the harbor. Once they reached the ships, they boarded them quickly and went straight to the tea crates. In a well-organized and disciplined action, they smashed open the crates and threw the tea into the water. One by one, wooden chests filled with tea leaves were emptied into the harbor. In total, 342 crates of tea were destroyed. The sea turned dark as waves carried the leaves away. Not a single person was killed or seriously hurt during this act. The protest was against goods, not against people. News of the Boston Tea Party spread rapidly across the colonies. Some saw it as a bold and heroic act of defiance. Others worried that it had gone too far. But everyone understood that something major had happened. Britain also understood it, and they were furious. The British government quickly passed a series of harsh laws aimed at punishing Boston. These laws became known as the Intolerable Acts. They closed Boston Harbor until the destroyed tea was paid for. They placed the colony under stricter control. They hoped to scare the colonists into obedience. Instead, the opposite happened. The punishment united the colonies. What began as anger in Boston now became a shared struggle for all 13 colonies. Leaders and ordinary people realized that if Britain could punish one colony, it could punish them all. The Boston Tea Party, therefore, became a turning point. It showed that ordinary colonists could stand up to one of the most powerful empires in the world. It also showed that resistance was possible. Within 2 years, the colonies would declare independence. The Boston Tea Party was not the start of the revolution, but it was the spark that lit the fire. It was a simple act, throwing tea into the sea, yet it carried deep meaning. It was a protest not against a product, but against the idea of being ruled without a voice. It was about freedom, self-government, and dignity. Today, the Boston Tea Party is remembered as a bold step toward independence. It reminds us that history is often shaped by the courage of ordinary people who refused to accept injustice. The men who destroyed the tea could not have imagined that their actions would inspire a revolution, but that is exactly what happened. From the dark waters of Boston Harbor rose the spirit of liberty that would give birth to the United States of America. So, the next time you hear about the Boston Tea Party, remember it was not about tea. It was about the right of people to decide their own future. It was about freedom, justice, and the beginning of a new nation.